If the British Empire and its Commonwealth last for 1,000 years, men will still say this was their finest hour.
We stand for Queen,
country, and video games. BRB UK.
Worse teeth,
better accents. Hello, and indeed ahoy hoy, ladies and gentlemen, and anyone else who may be listening as well. Welcome, one and all, to episode 320 of BRB UK. I'm Dan, I'm your host, and we're a man down again. It's just me and Tim again this week. Say hello, Tim.
Hello, Tim.
We tried to get some people in. Excuses range from I'm on a night shift, which is fair enough, to I'd rather cook some dinner than talk rubbish with you and Tim, thanks, to what excuses did you get, Tim?
I didn't give Pac-Man too much of a response time, so
right, okay,
he's off the hook. I think he's okay.
I was personally not naming people, so there was no naming and shaming.
Well, yeah, but I was saying who's off the hook. I wasn't saying who was on it. You know what I mean? But yeah,
aren't we on the hook?
Other people do have genuine excuses, are at work or busy or otherwise.
Boo.
Just the way life goes. So you've had to put up with two of us for 2 weeks running.
Well, I tell you what, having to chase people up got in the way of my busy schedule at the moment, because ever since that new Lion King trailer dropped, I've been wandering around the house just holding my cat up, going, "Oh, it's a Venga!"
Did you rub some red paint on his forehead?
No. He would have actually eaten my arm if I'd done that. So just randomly holding my cat and pointing him at passers-by and going, "Oh, it's the Wenger!"
Arsene Wenger?
That's what I reckon it sounds like. The actual words I don't know, and if I try to impersonate it directly, I'm sure I would offend somebody. So there we go. But have you been holding any small furry animals up in claiming they are the next king of the animal kingdom?
Well, as I don't actually own any myself, I think that would probably get me into trouble.
That's not really the question I asked. Have you picked any animals up and done that?
Yeah, obviously.
It could be a local badger or a stoat.
I wasn't actually thinking about bringing wild animals into the mix, but that's even better.
Yes, brilliant. So, yes, that is how I've been amusing myself. I need to get out more. Anyway, talking getting out more and being social, EGX is coming back to London for 2019. And in our pre-show chat, I was like, "Oh yeah, but they're not going to be able to book space in Earls Court probably." And Tim made the excellent point that that's because Earls Court doesn't currently exist. So where are they going to have it, do you reckon? Is it going to be XL, do you think?
Yeah, I think they've already announced it will be an XL. That was kind of the obvious choice. It sounds like it's going to be slightly later in the year than it was previously as well.
Okay.
It's
so
near
like November
the end of
time.
October now, basically, rather than end of September.
Birthday treat for Dan.
So yeah, I think it was the 20th or so.
That is my birthday.
Is it? Oh, there you go.
20th of October. Thanks, EGX. I'll have all the free tickets, please.
Well, this is good. So they've moved it from my birthday to your birthday.
Yeah, I know, right? There better be at least 7 Destiny panels on it. Otherwise, I will consider it a rubbish present. So that's good stuff. But I'm glad to hear they're coming back. It's a shame it didn't really get traction up north. I never actually went to it up north because I'm a lazy southerner.
I think it was reasonably well attended, but possibly not as much growth as they were hoping and would probably have expected in London, I think, basically. And look, I know this wasn't good news for everyone because I saw quite a few people complaining about it, northerners mainly. But look, a lot of people are like, "Oh, well, everything bloody goes to London, everything's in London, this was one thing that wasn't," and I can kind of understand that criticism. At the same time, as much as it does personally suit me, so take me as being completely and utterly biased, because this now means I don't have to spend anything on hotels, I can just travel there every day, bonus. But like, things do come into London, and this will come to London and probably be, have extended growth over what it would have in Birmingham because there are more people here. And yes, as a lot of people pointed out, Londoners are lazy, but most people are lazy. That's why you're complaining about having to travel to London. Like, it works both ways, but there are more people in London, therefore it's more easy to attract more people. Like, it's
I also think logistics play into it as well. Actually, physically getting stuff into London is a little easier with all the train and plane links. So
yeah, I also saw game developers saying, well, actually, I always had to go to to London first to then get a train to Birmingham to get there in the first place anyway. So,
but anyway, I mean, it's obviously it's a shame that it's kind of had to come back to London in some ways, but I can kind of see the reasons why.
I cheered when they announced it, and I already knew it was going to happen. But there you go.
Well, I mean, there might be something they can do down the road. Who knows? Perhaps, get Rezzed a bit more. Isn't Rez already kind of based up north, or am I just imagining things?
No, Rez used to be in Birmingham, and then when EGX proper went and moved to Birmingham, they swapped it round and moved Rez to London, and that's now in Tobacco Dock, and is now generally my favourite event of the year because it's a really nice venue and really quite cool. But yeah, I don't know what they'll be planning to do on the opposite end, whether they will, I don't know. But it's, yeah, as I said, it was just good news for me. I'm just happy to have it back in London. It does make life a lot easier. It does mean, like, I think you kind of missed out on this because you were obviously living in London and just before this, but I have really, like, good memories associated with all the sarcastic gamer guys coming and staying at my house for the first time and then going to EGX. And we met you at EGX as well, kind of thing. So, I mean, like, so
back in the day,
yeah,
nearly 10 years ago now, Tim.
Yeah, so those
actually no, it was 10 years ago.
Yeah. Oh wow, yeah. Blimey,
man, we're old.
Indeed.
Right. Wow. Jesus. Talking of misery, Federal Trade Commission.
Oh, well, are they misery?
Well, they might. They don't sound huge. It doesn't sound hugely exciting. Let's face it. What do you do? I'm a commissioner for federal trade. Wow, that sounds exciting.
Do you think they get a badge, like a sheriff's badge?
You could get a badge. Why not? Have a badge. Tim. It might say happy birthday rather
FTC.
than anything to do. Yeah, it might say that.
You just flash at people, go FTC.
Yeah, and they go, oh, WTF, mate. Is what they'll do.
FTC.
WTF. So this I don't entirely disagree with. So the FTC, I mean, I disagree with the FTC about a great number of their approaches to things, but they're currently set to investigate loot boxes. Mm-hmm. So in the Senate, this is going to be looked at in a US Senate committee hearing, and with the remit of, quote, protecting children and educating adults on the associated dangers.
Sounds like a good thing.
Yeah, and, it's this kind of loot boxes are still falling in this grey area of, is it gambling, is it not gambling? And, certainly there's been some pushback. I think certainly in China, don't all loot boxes at the point of sale have to list the probability of an item.
Think something like that.
Which I actually think is really good. And, I think that for the occasional dabble, and by very occasional, if there's a kind of a if it's a purely cosmetic item that you could get through other means, but you could have an enhanced chance of getting it on a one-off loot box. Yeah. Okay, I can kind of see that. I still think everything in a loot box should be gainable through in-game play as well. But they are a really grey area, and it is really uncertain what you're getting for your money, which is why, at the very least, I think, they kind of should post the probabilities of certain items.
This is one of those things that's got shadier and shadier as it has been more further integrated into the business models of some games. I do think it needs a lot more transparency, but this is the exact problem. Why? I'm not saying the FTC will necessarily stuff things up deliberately, but this is the exact way things are going that I warned about that is leading to the possible worst case scenario. And I just want to lay that out there just again so people kind of, refresher on that. Basically, my concern with this, and my concern all along, has been if the games industry doesn't regulate itself enough, someone else will step in and regulate the problem, but may do so to the detriment of general video game construction. Right? And what I mean by that is when someone comes in and doesn't necessarily fully understand what they're doing, the law that they lay down may cover things that they didn't necessarily want to have covered in that remit. What I'm talking about is if in a game there is a gambling mechanic, or there is some way of getting, like say in the latest Spider-Man game, you could unlock all the Spider-Man suits by doing certain things, right? Now, that's something that we as a gamer know is a progression through a game and something that is fairly natural and something that we know is within a game. My concern is that they bring out a law that says you can't have anything that gives away cosmetic items that does this and does this, and those rules kind of overlap into areas they shouldn't be. Whereas there'll be the concern of you shouldn't be having lots of different Spider-Man suits available in the game, kind of, and that's a cosmetic item essentially, kind of thing. I mean, like,
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think banning outright is a pretty heavy-handed solution. I do think though that when you spend money on anything, in an ideal world, you ought to know what you're getting for that money, or what you have a chance of getting for that money. And, I don't know whether or not they need to, whether it's going to be you either have to describe the probability of items, or you are guaranteed a certain number of a certain class of items and you have to advertise that.
But I think it becomes a really sticky, hard problem to break apart. The difference between a kind of microtransaction loot box type thing or an actual in-game thing that you can earn, especially when you start getting into the murky areas of, well, you can earn it in-game by just doing the natural thing, but you can speed up the game's timers and the amount that you earn by giving us a bit of money. Like, that becomes a real shady grey area, and there are elements like, if we'd have just turned around and, like, say, games like, just any game with a loot box in, whether it's FIFA or anything else, if they'd all just turned around and gone, okay, we understand that you want to know the probability, that seems a reasonable thing, we'll put that in, we'll make that a standard across the industry. That would be a better thing than having it go under people that don't necessarily fully understand. And I'm not saying that everyone in the FTC is an idiot and uneducated about video games, and hopefully we're getting to a point where generationally that's less and less of a problem, type of thing. But I still think that there is an issue with trying to create a law rather than self-regulating in the industry, and it would have been better to have been self-regulated than go down this route, because this becomes a sticky problem.
Yeah, although the industry itself is slightly to blame for not getting in front of it in the way they did with kind of PEGI and ESRB ratings. It's it's the kind of, if you don't make the rules yourself as an industry and show you can self-police, someone else will damn well do it for you, and that will do it in a much more heavy-handed way.
But heavy-handed and also sometimes less educated about the problem that they're trying to solve as well, which is my concern here, basically. Also, just because I'm, fed up to the back teeth, I won't particularly go on about Brexit, but
oh god,
just because our country is so busy the bed with Brexit, they haven't even bothered they're not even looking into this. Belgium and Holland and stuff have been doing things we reported on before. This is America turning their attention to it. But, like, the UK have just turned around and gone, no, this isn't betting, doesn't matter. Oh, gambling amongst children has risen by 4 times in the last year. Oh, that's a surprise. I don't know why. It's not like we haven't got our head up our arse and not taking care of the problem. I mean, also there are other problems they're not doing, like regulating the betting industry and its association with football and all sorts of other things I could go on about. But we're too busy, kicking ourselves in the face.
Well, no. Actually, I think politicians are too busy trying to work out how they can manipulate the current situation with Brexit. That their own personal advancement is generally what the issue is. If you look,
the joke's on them. You can't manipulate a show this big to your advantage. It's going to be to everyone's disadvantage, and then we'll wake up one day and realise that's the case.
I'll tell you what, though, Rees-Mogg can piss off.
Oh, he can die in a burning fire of pain.
All I'm going to say is put a little pencil moustache on that man.
Yeah, he's so close it's not even funny.
Anyway, before Coleman explodes with having to edit stuff, let's move on, Tim.
Yes.
Let's move on. Talking about screwing things up, Bethesda.
Yeah, ooh.
Bethesda. It just keeps getting worse. It's like, as if releasing a completely broken game that is bereft of content, is fundamentally flawed in the way that it goes about dealing with how it manages loot, through no other reason than everything's stored client-side, not server-side, so you can just patch in whatever the hell you like to that game.
A bad concept, made badly, put together badly. Yeah. Oh dear.
So now, if stiffing the casual player, well, not casual's the wrong word. The normal gamut of gamers isn't good enough. They thought, you know what? It's time to pick on our hardcore audience, because They'll just gobble up any old crap we shove their way. So the $200, and I assume similar amount pound, Fallout
Probably.
76 Power Armor Collector's Edition, which contains a wearable T-51B Power Armor helmet. I'm not sure if that's wearable by you or a cat. Some kind of terrain map, some bonus digital items, a steel case, some little figurines, and and I'm quoting directly here, a canvas West Tech duffel bag. So people receive their collector's editions. And it turns out that rather than the canvas bag they thought they were going to pay for, they received a really quite poor quality, shiny nylon one.
The old switcheroo. That old chestnut, eh? That old Contrick.
It's very flimsy. It looks horrible. And Bethesda kind of replied saying the one we wanted to release was too expensive, so we didn't do it. It's $200. It's
like the one in the product shots. The one in the product shot was just a prototype.
Yeah, exactly.
That was too expensive, so we thought sod you, basically. Like, it's like all right then.
Well, I mean, it's just and the reply to it from customer services. I mean, this was this is via Reddit. Do take accuracy of this with a pinch of salt, but I have no reason to believe it wouldn't be wouldn't be true. So someone wrote to Bethesda's Gear Help Desk, and their reply saying, "Hey, look, the bag included with my collector's edition isn't correct. Yeah. It's advertised as canvas, but it's actually a much cheaper nylon one." And after a second response to a second email to dig them about getting a response, they went, "Hello, we're sorry you're not happy with the bag. The bag shown in the media was a prototype and was too expensive to make. We aren't planning on doing anything about it."
Yeah.
So, whoa. Someone is either... Okay, there's three possibilities here. One, someone is, that isn't a true email, which I doubt that's the case. Two, they genuinely don't give a monkeys. Or three, someone's just got very fired in customer services. But they have come back out and said they are going to do something about it, okay?
Right.
They've heard. We understand and respect. There is disappointment with the bag in the Power Armor Edition. We are sorry. Please contact Bethesda support to provide proof of your purchase, and they will assist in granting your account 500 atoms. How much is 500 atoms, which is a currency? Surprise, surprise. Do you want to know how much that is?
Not very much, but I guess.
$5.
Wowzers.
Yeah.
$5 of imaginary currency that... I will preface this with, I heard a bit of the information on this courtesy of Jim Sterling, but yeah, $5, that isn't enough to buy you the digital version of the same bag in the game.
But can it buy you the nylon version of that bag in the game?
And also, it's probably just enough to try and hook you into the economy of buying stuff in the game. It's just that little taster. Just that free first hit.
Yeah. So, I mean, shame on you, Bethesda. It just keeps on getting worse. It does just keep on getting worse. And I think nowhere on any of the media stuff did it say content subject to change. Although, in any pre-release stuff, I never view these things as final. But the fact it was described, it's not just like a bag, it's a canvas bag, is pretty much makes it, you're getting a canvas bag.
I'll say it before, I'll say it again. There's a reason why I stopped pre-ordering. Like, you guys did take the piss out of me for, like, when I got quite excited at previous E3 and went and reserved my Pit-Boy edition.
Yeah, how'd that work out for you?
Yeah, that didn't go well. But the one thing I am glad for is that made me predetermined to not give a crap and not fall for it again this time when they announced Fallout 76, which I was a bit dubious about anyway because it's online and that didn't interest me. But then, yeah, when the helmet, I was like, ooh, helmet. I was like, nope, been there before. Don't need to go there again. I've seen this con trick before, but like, I don't know, like there are a ever decreasing amount of games I pre-order. I used to pre-order almost every game I bought, kind of thing, and these days I will pre-order something digitally that I know is a nailed-on certainty. I think the last couple of things I've pre-ordered, Tetris Effect, which I'd already played, Spider-Man, which I was fairly confident was going to be excellent. Like, those type of things I pre-order. Anything else, I just don't anymore, basically. It's just, I don't know, like, there's a reason that they stick all those pre-order bonuses, but also the fact that they can swap out the stuff that they're showing photos of, I think is scandalous. Like, and to do it to save money, to make it a bit cheaper to produce, like, that's something where they should have emailed everyone and said, right, there's a product change, you can either pay the extra amount and get this different thing, or you can cancel your pre-order. Like, that is a much better and more honourable way of doing it. Say, it's going to cost us a bit more money. Do you want a bit more money? Would you like to cancel your pre-order? And I bet most people would have gone, okay, yeah, I'll pay the extra money for the bag. And I think that's a better way of doing it than this. But I can't think of a worse way. Like, there's a series of like, just, yeah, like, if they were trolling people with this game, it wouldn't have been any worse than it would have been, almost, kind of thing. It feels that way. I don't think anyone sets out to make a bad game. But I cannot understand how you've made a game this badly, Bethesda. With a studio your size, with the amount of money and knowledge and everything behind it, I don't understand where this is coming from, basically. It feels like a cash grab against some of your biggest fans, and just, yeah, it feels like a stab in the back for a lot of the people that have supported you through a lot of games with a very broken engine anyway, basically, kind of thing. I mean, like, you had to convince me to get back on Fallout 76, to get back in the Fallout universe. This did anything but, basically.
Yeah, so, but it's okay, Tim, because there's 2 more patches coming.
Well, good. Like, it's one of those things where I don't know what they can do to save the game now, no? Like,
No, I don't think they can. I mean, it's just amazing, some of the stuff that just wasn't in the game when it released. So there was a day one patch that was like 70 gig in size, which you had to download. That still got terrible performance and stability. There's on the PC, where people have ultra-wide monitors. There's no support for that at the moment. That needs to be patched in. Right. UI needs to be usable. There's not enough space and stash limits. PC, the voice chat was always on, so it needs to be pushed at all.
Nice.
No field of view slider.
Okay, I saw 2 or 3 people that could not connect to the game. They were trying to connect and gave up trying to play because they could not get into the server or whatever.
Yeah, and just dumb stuff like you can get completely stuck in your power armor. You might not again get any loot from a boss, although I'm a Destiny player, so I'm quite used to that. And just like some of the effects, like being hit with a weapon called the Cryolator. So they get chilled, frosted, frozen, depending how many times they hit. Apparently, the default duration of the movement speed reduction was 2 hours. And they've reduced that down to 30 seconds. So that's a
slight difference.
So it's like, clearly, someone didn't have their brain turned on, did they? So that's how many? 2 times 60 times 60. So 30. Yeah, that is a 99.6 reduction, 99.6% reduction in the length of that status effect.
Someone got some maths wrong there.
Someone either got some maths wrong, or they just weren't thinking at all. I mean, it's kind of, I think with Fallout 76, all of us saw it coming, but we're very sad that it did it happen this way.
I still didn't expect it to be this bad. I expected it to be functional.
I mean, I think they've got a lot of work to do, and I think they need to ask themselves some pretty hard questions.
To me, this feels like this should have been the early access version that they then tested through that for 6 months before they launched. And I don't know if this shows that they just don't have experience with online games, but you would have thought, having gone through the Elder Scrolls Online, they would have learned some valuable lessons that they could have applied to this.
Yeah, what you would have thought. I mean, it's just one of those things that, you know, I think the technology driving a lot of Bethesda's first-person games, it's all using an engine, their own in-house engine called Gamebryo. But actually, the code base of that hasn't seen any substantive updates since its release about 8 to 10 years ago. So they've actually, you know, been kind of keep resuscitating this wheezing engine that is probably not optimized or appropriate for modern hardware. So I think they might need to. They may well be at the stage where they actually need to fundamentally go back to the drawing board and actually bring their underlying code base of their games up to date. Because I think that's probably the source of it. And because they've got away with it for so long, they thought, screw it, we can get away with it. We can just, we can just patch some multiplayer stuff in there and it'll work fine. No, it doesn't.
But at this stage, they have to be thinking that they're going to just get away with that, or attempt to get away with that for the rest of this generation. And I don't know if this game is more conclusive proof that that isn't the case, or it's just the online things that are causing them so many problems. I'm not sure about that, but yeah, like, I don't know that we're going to get another good Bethesda game in this generation. Like, that's my concern now, basically.
Yeah, I mean, put it this way. I mean, if this is any indication of where this game's at. So this is on Black Friday, which is, I think, 4 days or maybe a week at most after the game released at its, £60 RRP. It was on sale for £32.
Wowzers, yeah, that's not a good sign. Although I did hear similar things about Battlefield 5, which is apparently not selling as well either. Again, maybe a lesson in not releasing your game until it's all there and ready is possibly the case, but hey.
But anywho, that's Fallout 76. But talking of exciting things, if you're me, Tim got to talk about football and VR last week, so I get to talk about Destiny 2. I won't spend forever on it. So Destiny 2, as you all know, it's Bungie's shooter-looter and had a big old update in September with the release of Destiny 2 Forsaken, which changed a great deal to do with the game, and has made it a lot better in retrospect, having a look at the things that it was like, the things it did at launch compared to the way the game plays and behaves now. It's night and day, and a lot of these quality of life changes are indeed free. And even if you haven't bought any expansions, you still get certain things improved for the cost of nothing. So there was a big old patch landed last week, or earlier this week actually, and it was a 13 gig patch, no Fallout 76 patch, but still pretty sizable. And started, kind of rebalancing some aspects of the game for everybody. So improving weapons, making sure the game's a bit more balanced, which is great, fixing bugs for everybody, and just perhaps getting things a bit more ready for the next mini expansion. Now, Bungie are going out the way, not calling it a DLC. This is the first of 3 major releases in the annual pass, and this first one is called Black Armory, which what's really interesting here, though, is rather than releasing it all in one go, rather than putting out on the first date, which we all know is never good, is that they're actually staggering how things are released. So the Black Armory, essentially, they're introducing a horde mode game mode based around the weapons forges that presumably you're trying to get access to stock the Black Armory, I'd imagine. So these are you can go with your friends or matchmake. The exact details are kind of forthcoming. But there's the first one's up on December the 4th, the day of Black Armory's release. Another one December the 7th, at the same day, a new raid, not Raid Lair, a brand new raid's being released. Then there's a free for everybody event called The Dawning. A couple of days after that, December 18th, another forge, January 8th, another forge, and then January 29th, a brand new exotic quest. So they're really kind of trying to drip feed stuff to do, which I think is probably quite sensible, because if they release everything in one go, there's going to be some nutters who just absolutely just go crazy and get very drunk on it. Actually, I'm not as bad. I actually don't have time to roll through to put roll another 3,000 characters. No, mate. I'm having to measure my time and be a bit careful. So yeah, I mean It really does, I think they're going about a different way of doing things. And what's really good is that they're trying to not only balance what they're giving people with the annual pass, but also trying to look after the people who've only got the base game as well. So through this, obviously there's still going to be things like Iron Banner, which is free for everybody. updating some of the lore, other free community events. So
how much is their annual pass thing?
I think if you buy it alone, it's about 30-ish quid.
Okay, but you can get it as part of the super duper pack that you bought in the first place, kind of thing. Anyway,
yeah. So if you buy, I think that at the time, Forsaken plus the annual pass was 50-ish quid.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So you can get the Destiny 2 Forsaken for 34 quid, and the annual pass will cost you another 30 on top of that on Battle.net. You can probably find it cheaper if you go on if you shop around the net, but it's I think. But Bungie finally seem to have got their head round what they need to do, just in time for Destiny 3 to be released, probably. I mean, I hope it lives up to kind of the checks their collective mouths are writing for it.
But there's still two more bits of the annual pass to come, you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. There's one in March. It lands in March and runs to May. Another one in June that runs to August. And then presumably there is either a big tentpole Destiny 2 release along the lines of Forsaken in September, or that's when Destiny 3 lands. So, there we go. But good fun times. Good fun times, I say. And we've got a very nice active clan on Bungie.net, so come join in on BigRedBarel. So next up, what we got?
Right, well, we went, it's kind of a sandwich, because we went Bethesda, then Destiny, and now something else that hasn't worked out very well and has been generally getting criticism since they announced the full lineup of games. But yeah, PlayStation Classic is currently getting more criticism for putting a load of the PAL versions on rather than the NTSC versions of... Well, 9 out of the 20 games are PAL. Now, this seems to be something that's causing a bit of... So
for those of you who aren't as aged as Timothy and I, and before kind of HDMI and standardization of display standards came through, TVs, standard def TVs, were either PAL, which is a European standard, which has, I think, 576 vertical lines of resolution. Yeah, I'm cool. Or NTSC, which is the American system. I think that has 400 lines. Now, the other difference between the PAL regions and the NTSC regions is that the PAL versions, our power supplies run at 50 hertz, so 50 up and down cycles a second, whereas the American ones run at 60 hertz. Now, you think, that's no big deal, but back when the PlayStation 1 was around, there were no kind of power transform, that kind of the correct kind of power transformer inside the console to adjust for the change in voltage frequency. Yeah, because that change in voltage frequency, that 20% less or whatever it is, I think it's a bit less than that, I think like 17% or something, that actually means that has a knock-on effect on how fast the CPU runs. Right. Meaning that PAL games, unless they were adjusted, all played slower. And because PAL games had, because there was more vertical lines of resolution on the PAL display, any games that were ported straight over from the NTSC region were letterboxed and squashed. Yeah. Because there was only 400 lines of resolution and TV's Batman can blow up to the whole screen.
But there was some advantage to PAL. Now, I heard some people arguing that it has better colour correction.
Yes, it does.
And better resolution.
Yes, indeed. So yeah, but unfortunately it means that a lot of, I mean, obviously because America is the bigger market, a lot of games were kind of localised for America into English and then just bunged straight over. Lazily ported over, so they ran slower and they tended to run letterboxed. But for reasons I can't quite understand, the PAL versions of a number of these games, which are objectively inferior in terms of the speed at which they play, and are they letterboxed as well on the PS1?
There seems to be some discrepancy in people saying exactly how this is working out. But the end result does seem to be that a number of people are noticing that the PAL games, especially like a fighting game like Tekken, I think is one of the ones that's getting criticism for, or Tekken 3, I should mention. But because that's a fighting game, like people that are used to the American versions are seeing a difference, whereas someone in the PAL territory might not. That seems to be the case, and it seems to be that they're slightly slower and sluggish, but also there seems to be a discrepancy with some people saying that they seem to be a bit kind of squishy on the button response as well, basically. And I don't know whether that's just the slight difference in speed and that then manifesting itself in different complaints. I'm not sure, but it does seem to be that most Americans seem unhappy about this, even though I guess the decision was taken because they looked at the two versions side by side and put whichever one ran in a better manner on this software, I would imagine, no? Like, I was guessing, or on the hardware that they made, but it's all running on an emulator, so I'm guessing they just put whichever version looked better or looked better on the emulator. A lot of people are saying that speed difference, I saw someone arguing, I don't know if it's the case, that the speed difference isn't as much as the kind of percentages would have you believe, kind of thing, and it's not something that most people will be like, the kind of lay gamer type thing, a normal kind of gamer or a casual gamer would not notice the difference. Basically, I don't know how much of the case, and I really don't know. Not without having seen the two side by side, I couldn't necessarily say that I'd be able to tell them apart or notice. But if people are complaining about it, I can see why they might get upset about it.
But it goes a bit deeper than that. I mean, there's actually the way in which they've implemented the game and the emulation is really, frankly, not good. Rather than kind of optimizing it for modern display standards, it's actually really juddery the way they do the frames. So, for example, with Battle Arena Toshinden, another game that the PAL releases, is on the PlayStation Classic. Rather than refreshing at 30 frames a second, this will actually refresh at 25 frames a second.
Oh.
But what they do is they just duplicate every fifth frame.
Every other frame, right? One in five.
One in five. And which means that the screen, it's not only obviously slower than 30 frames a second.
But it flickers a bit, basically.
Exactly. But there's constant juddering. So they've actually done, frankly, the bare minimum they need to do for the PlayStation Classic.
But that seems to be the case in a lot of this. Like, presentationally, it doesn't look very interesting and stuff like that. Like, it seems to be an inferior product to the ones that Nintendo have released so far for the NES and the SNES. And it's one of those things where, like, they're using third-party... This is one of those things I don't understand about a modern video game company. They are using third-party emulator, basically, from what I understand, yeah?
Yeah, it's an open-source, publicly available emulator, so they haven't really done much, to be honest with you.
Like, you would have thought that Sony would have the best emulator on the market for themselves, kind of thing, and make available for this type of thing. Like, I can't understand how they haven't made their own proprietary emulator software for running PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation... Like, I don't understand why that isn't something they already have in their locker, type of thing. This seems like an odd thing to have to put out to a third party, you know? Like, it seems lazy is part of the approach there.
It's all very strange. It is. I think they've gone, oh, there's some low-hanging fruit where you can quickly pluck. So the PlayStation Classic, its RRP is 90 quid, compared to the 70 quid of a SNES Classic Mini, which is freely available and in stock in most major retailers, unless you have a real desire to specifically play the PlayStation back catalogue, which some people may do. But you want your you just want your retro gaming itch scratched. I think probably the Nintendo offerings are much better value for money.
But I think the only thing that would attract you to the PlayStation 1 console is if you have a burning desire to get rid of your analog sticks and replace it with a wire.
If you have a burning desire to completely decimate the fond memories you have of playing a PlayStation in your childhood.
But we mentioned before the show, like, I would have preferred them to have re-released the PlayStation 1 than do a crap job of this. Yeah, the PlayStation ONE. Like, that was a really nice piece of kit. I would have quite happily owned one of them, and then you could play, like, all the retro thing. They could have done that, made a PS1, preloaded some games into the console on top of that, and this would have been a much better product than what they came out with.
Absolutely.
And that doesn't sound like that would have been that hard a thing to do. They've already got the PS1 there. They could have already gone with it. It would have had, may have just been able to play PS1 games, but that's all this can do. But as I said, preload a few games onto that would have been a much better product.
I want to know, can I open the disc tray lid on the PlayStation Mini?
No.
And can I store biscuits in there?
No.
Nope. So it's not even useful as a snack receptacle for which to feed myself during gaming.
I don't know about you, if I got one, I'd play with it upside down just for old school kind of memories.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'd be trying to kind of blue tack a paperclip over the disc tray open. But anyway, what fun we had. But yes, so yes, what else is there? Here's some good-ish, interesting news. Rebellion. Tell me about Rebellion, Tim.
Rebellion. If anyone doesn't know, they are game developers and also kind of oversee 2000 AD, one of the sort of biggest and best British comics, basically. Well, I'll qualify that with just biggest and best British comics that are kind of aimed at a more kind of what we would associate with comics from the Marvel and all that type of thing, rather than your Dandies and Beanos that we get over here and stuff. Anyway, but yeah, they kind of oversee that type of stuff, and they've already kind of previously announced that they were moving into a movie kind of area as well, and TV type stuff, TV production. But they've announced today that, announced this week that they have unveiled a £100 million, fairly massive looking studio space that they are planning to develop the Judge Dredd TV show they've already announced, Mega City 1, and the Rogue Trooper movie.
Being directed by Duncan Jones, a.k.a. Zowie Bowie.
Yes. Yeah, I'm really excited for both of those projects. I'm hoping this might actually bring more to a reality the fact that we can also get a sequel for the 2012 Judge Dredd film, because that is criminally undervalued, and I don't. There's so many people raving about that film. I don't know why it doesn't get a bit more traction. Also, a fantastic film to watch in 3D and PSVR, just for the record.
Oh, for God's sake, shut up.
But yeah. This seems really good news. Rebellion going from strength to strength. They did mention, and obviously this part of their thinking is that Netflix and other TV providers are looking for a lot more content these days, and so studios like this, stepping into that space and making content from the stuff that they've got access to through 2000 AD and the other properties they're owning and stuff now is excellent news. It's really good news for kind of the British creative industry generally, and it's nice to have a kind of that hub of kind of working on these things. They've got loads of properties to kind of work on that we haven't really seen TV series and movies of before. I'd love to see stuff like Slain coming up and stuff like that, and I think that could fill like a popular kind of Conan audience, or even move into the whole Game of Thrones kind of thing as well. But really good news. Them really stepping it up and kind of I think they said there's 500 new jobs that are going to be created by this as well, which is obviously good news for the British economy and stuff at this time as well. But really good news. We'll hold our hands up and say we've got many different fingers and many different pies with different friends and people at Rebellion. We've people that work for the site work for them and all sorts of things, so you can take that with a pinch of salt if you like.
People who work for the site slightly related to some people who might have had something to do with the IPs in the first place. Well, there's only so much we could talk about.
There's only so many things we can so you can take that with a pinch of salt if you like, but also this is just great news because it's a lot of people that we're friendly with, and seeing that company going from strength to strength is a good thing. But yeah, it's someone that I want to see be more successful, because I want to see more things from Judge Dredd. I want to see more things from Rogue Trooper, and as I said, a load of the other properties from 2000 AD that are prime for that sort of content as well. So that's really good news.
Absolutely. But the harsh mistress of content creation giveth one hand and taketh away with another. Well, actually, when I initially read this, I thought, that's a shame. But then I thought about it a bit more and I was like, no, that's actually probably a good thing. So Nintendo, professional haters of YouTube, have scrapped their controversial creators program, which was essentially So the way it was is that if you were going to make content that involved any Nintendo property, you had to submit it to Nintendo first for them to give it its blessing.
And then you'd only get 60% of the revenue that came from it, unless you had an entirely Nintendo-focused channel, in which case you got 70%. Which is, yeah.
Exactly. So, and also you could only use monetization methods that Nintendo had expressly approved. So
which didn't include Patreon, which screwed over a lot of YouTubers, basically.
Yep, absolutely. So Nintendo of America announced that they are shuttering the Creators Program. That was earlier this morning, I do believe. And now when it shows, oh God, are they just going to go back to copyright striking everyone? But actually, I think this in the context of Smash Brothers coming out.
Yes, and I think that's why this was done, basically.
Yeah, I hope that Nintendo are going, do you know what? Our approach to this wasn't working. I think we need to follow suit with everyone else and all other companies in the video game industry.
They have stated when talking about this that they wanted to make it easier for content creators to make and monetize videos that contain Nintendo game content.
Exactly. So I think they finally woke up and smelled the Cooper dung about it. It's, they having a hands-off approach, true, there might be some things where there is a juxtaposition of a Nintendo property against something which they consider to be off-brand, but actually it's such a powerful, and this is me being very cynical, it's a very powerful advertising medium, having content creators making stuff that just that involve your game, streaming it, etc., etc. So
okay.
I hope it's done that this decision was made in that particular spirit. So
yeah. Cool. Right, we better prattle through the points of interest because we are running long on time.
Blimey, look at Tim having an eye on the clock.
Yeah. So I was going to go games with gold this month are Cube 2 on the Xbox One, Never Alone on the Xbox One.
That's good. That's
Dragon
good.
Age 2 on the 360, and Mercenaries Playground of Destruction on Xbox OG. Going all the way back there. Also, Game Pass games this month. It seems like a good selection as well. The Gardens Between, which is a little puzzle game that got highly praised. Mutants Year Zero, and a Strange Brigade, who we've talked about before, also from Rebellion, so you can take that with a pinch of salt, but I think that'll be a good one to get more people in on because it's a good online game and having lots of people have access to it will be good. Speaking of which as well, also PS Plus for PS4 this month, Onrush fits very much into that category as well. A fantastic game. We were singing its praises. It was one of those games that did not get enough people attracted to it, and I don't know why. We tried to pull in as many people as we could because it's a really good fun game.
Because it was critically really well received, but didn't get anyone latching onto it.
Worries me for the future of arcade racing games because time and time again they come out and then have problems kind of maintaining that sort of game. But this is one where, more people getting access to that is a really good thing, and they can hopefully see how good it is. I don't think we'll be getting a sequel anytime soon. But really good game, and it's one of those kind of benefits from playing online with other people, so more people playing online, very good.
Go pick that up for the love of God.
Also Soma, which I know not much about, but that's there, and Iconoclast, which is a platformer, so I don't care about much. But
aren't you a miserable sausage?
Yeah, well, there you go. But also, I was just going to mention that Skyfront VR, a game that I talked about, having played it at EGX just gone this year, it has just announced that it's coming out of early access on the 20th of December. It'll be on Vive and Oculus, and it's kind of got like a 360 degree, like zero gravity kind of feel to it, and you can kind of have guns where you shoot in one direction to propel you in the other type thing.
That sounds like an express ticket to Vomit City, if you ask me.
I played it and it plays really smooth. I was really happy with that side of things. Wasn't necessarily happy with my skills in it, but it was good fun basically. And one I'm hopeful that will come to PSVR, and also the reason I'm mentioning it, I'm hopeful to get a interview with the developers before release as well, basically. So, just one to look out for. You can check it out in early access now. As I said, it's available on Vive and Oculus PC stuffs. But I
do have a slight issue with their blurb, their PR blurb.
What's that?
Skyfront boasts omnidimensional battle arenas.
Well, that's why I skipped over that word.
Omnidimensional. That means all of the dimensions, including known and unknown dimensions. We can only comprehend 3 dimensions, Timothy.
360-degree zero gravity stuff, which was probably, less technical word.
Omnidirectional is marketing wank speak. And I don't like it.
Omnidirectional, that's...
Omnidimensional. Omnidirection is all directions. You can do that.
Yeah.
Omnidimensional. No.
Look, don't pass judgment until you've played it, Dan. Hey.
Can you have words when you speak to him? Can you just say one of your podcast co-hosts would like to take issue on the term omnidimensional based on his knowledge of the space-time continuum? Could you tell them that for me, using those exact words?
Yes, except for I'm pretty sure I'll be speaking to a lady, so calling him would be, a bad way to get off the conversation.
Sorry, my apologies, listener. That was some unconscious bias there. I'm very sorry.
Pointing that out to you. But anyway, right, so yeah. That's all. That's our points of interest, and there endeth the news.
We are
nearly out of time, but fortunately, we don't have too many games to talk about this week. I have no game to talk about this week because the game I have had a little time playing, I realised I can't talk about for 2 weeks. So there you go.
Really? Is that the one you've put in the agenda?
No. But the thing I put in the agenda is not a game, but I definitely want to talk about it briefly.
Okay. Well, I haven't done much. I'll do mine first, and then you've got the remaining. Yeah, I'll give you 5 minutes, Tim. How's about that? I'm in a generous mood. I played a bit more of No Man's Sky following the patch, Visions patch, and man, it's still a No Man's Sky arse bit of No Man's Sky. It is, however, being given a significant visual upgrade, and actually, it's a really good game now. So
I really do want to go back and play it sometime.
It's really worth it. I mean, you can get it. I'm fairly sure you can get it for pretty cheap these days. Obviously, a lot of the reviews you'll read online are based on how it was when it was released. Which
so it's a bit of a tricky...
state at that time was not good. They've now...
I still liked it when it first released, so I've been meaning to go back to it now that it's got more content and more praise kind of thing.
I mean, it has got a lot better. There's some actual gameplay in there now, opposed from... I mean, don't get me wrong, in its original form, it was a great chill-out game, just putz about the universe, go and land on a planet, see what you can find. But yeah, no, it's definitely getting there now, which is great. Only a mere 2.5 years after release. And I also managed to add even more to my pile of shame, because curse you back Friday.
Yeah.
Curse you. But yeah, it's well worth checking out No Man's Sky if you haven't already. You can certainly get it cheap. So Tim, you've been playing more Spider-Man.
No, this is I should have been playing more Spider-Man, and I should have been possibly talking about the content, but with me being the new DLC Turf Wars, but with me being ill, I still haven't got through all of the first bit of the DLC, which I'm determined to go back to at the moment because I have been bitten by the Spider-Man bug again. Because last night I was lucky enough to go to a media screening for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, the animated movie, basically, and we don't normally talk about non-game things on this show, and Diomed will be talking about, because he obviously went to it as well, he'll be talking about this a bit more on Geek Speak, so listen out for that. But I just wanted to get there for anyone that doesn't listen, or anyone that just cares more about my opinion. I want to scream about this film from the rooftops, because I believe there's a reason they're getting it out early and getting people like me to go see it, so that I can rave about it and tell you how fantastic it is. Like, I don't remember the last time I came out of a movie this satisfied. Like,
wow.
I was, it literally jaw drop, blew me away kind of thing. Like, me and Diomed were like, I turned to him and went, about 60-70% through the film, I went...
And you turned to him and I just can't quit you.
Yeah, no, I just said to him, it's not just me, right? This is fantastic, yes? This is already the best Spider-Man film I've ever seen. Yeah, yes, kind of thing. Like, without trying to be hyperbole, this is like 24 hours later, and I'm still kind of like shell-shocked by how good it was. I had really high expectations. It exceeded and smashed those expectations.
Wow, okay.
It is... without doubt, the best Spider-Man movie I've ever seen.
Wow.
It is one of my favourite Marvel films.
Wow.
It is one of my favourite comedies ever.
Wowza.
I was laughing so much and so hard, I need to go back and watch the film again because I missed some of the other jokes.
So Care Bears the movie is your current top spot is under threat, Tim, is what you're saying.
It's under threat. But like it was also like really well balanced in terms of like it was kind of very emotional at times, kind of tugging at heartstrings, but doing it really well. It was like you didn't have to have a full knowledge of the Spider-Verse that it's kind of based on. For anyone who doesn't know, the Spider-Verse is like multi-dimensional Spider-Mans and different versions of them, of Spider-Man across different dimensions. Spider-Gwen is one of the kind of famous examples, and she plays a prominent role. The main kind of thing that it centers around is Miles Morales, but from a different universe. I won't say much more than that, but there are various things that you can see in the trailers. I'll even urge you not to watch the trailers because it'll spoil a couple of jokes from the film. I did that
really?
anyway, and it still didn't spoil it for me. But just go and see this film. There's not many films that I will tell that. I phoned one of my friends today and I said, you may have been planning to see this already because he's a massive Spider-Man fan. He's the one that, incidentally, the same person that traded in his Xbox to go get a PS4 for Spider-Man, basically. But,
So he's a Spider-Man fan.
Yeah,
then?
he's a Spider-Man fan. But, like, literally, I said, you may have been planning to see this already. You are planning to see this film twice now, and I am coming with you for one of them. Kind of thing. Like, it also has like a fantastic soundtrack. It's kind of a bit hip hop focused, which kind of that played to me really well. I will preface some of these things with like it plays to me really well. I like my animated films. This is still one of my favorite animated films of all time. That's one of the other things I forgot to mention. The animation is fantastic in it. If you had to put a gun to my head to come up with a couple of criticisms, I didn't necessarily like the way Kingpin was represented in the story type thing and just animation style, and there are a couple of points in the overall film where I thought the animation style and stylings distracted more than they added, and two or three scenes almost kind of thing. But that is like being super critical and having to come up with things that I didn't like about it. Like,
it's absolutely going bananas on, well, this is the wrong fruit comparison to make, on Rotten Tomatoes. It's on Rotten Tomatoes this has got 100%, which is you hardly ever see that.
IGN gave it 90 and I was like, oh, it's a bit harsh, IGN. Like, what did it have to do to get the other one? Like, I seriously don't know what it could have done. Like, there is nothing I would change from the script. There is nothing I would change from the story. Like, you don't have to be a massive knowledgeable Spider-Man fan because it kind of explains everything in the thing. In fact, in some ways, like, being a big Spider-Man fan means that you'll get more out of some of the film, but you won't see some of the, you'll see some of the twists coming much more easily than other people will, kind of thing. And they're not major twists, but it's like little twists or something. I don't want to say any spoilers for the film other than it is fantastic. Do not sleep on this. It is a great film. I absolutely loved it. I can't remember the last time I came out of the cinema as happy with a film, basically. Like, yeah, fantastic.
Jolly good. Go and see it. And that's in all movie theatres now, right?
No, it's not out for a bit yet. It's previews are on the 8th and 9th of December, and it comes out on the 12th, basically.
So you need to go see that because it's as fresh as you like.
Go see it
in the tomato meter.
Yeah, go see it in the previews so you can drag all your friends and look cool when you drag them to when it comes out on release. Like, yeah, so very good. Like, I love the soundtrack. I loved everything about it. Like, it, yeah. Well, so
you like it then, Tim?
Yes,
Tim likey.
Fair to say. Like, as I said, you can still tell I'm a bit shell shocked from like just how good it was, basically, kind of thing. And ordinarily, I would try and temper people's expectations so they could go back. I had really high expectations, and as I said, it smashed them. And yeah, great expectations, and yeah. Anyway. Really good.
Great expectations, nothing to do with Spider-Man. That's a book, Tim.
That right. I kind of fed that back in. I said that on some of the tweets. That'll make sense once you've seen the film. I won't say any more than that.
Well, I don't know what the dickens you're on about, mate. Anyway.
I see what you did there.
What I did there, you saw it. Anyway, That's enough, I think. We've talked enough for 1 week. Bearing in mind there's only two of us. So, other bits. I've just got Tabletop Tuesday, Tim. I understand it's a bit of a mystery this week.
It is a mystery this week. I do have games in hand. There's something else I'm trying to line up just in time for Tuesday, and I'm not sure whether I'll be able to do so yet. I will announce the game on Sunday or Monday, basically. But I'll have more information soon. But yeah, should be a good one either way. I have good stuff in hand. There's this one particular thing I'm trying to line up for Tuesday. But yeah, anyone that doesn't know, each and every week we have a different feature game, and if you play that feature game that evening, you can win a copy of the game at the end of the night. It is a board and card game type event, hence Tabletop Tuesday, but in a video game themed bar called Loading Bar, and it is the Loading Bar in Dalston. You can get more information on the top left hand corner of our site, or come and join our very popular meetup group on Meetup. Just search for Tabletop Tuesdays.
Well, there we go. Fun and games will happen. Well, fun and tabletop games. But yeah, stuff will happen regardless. So make sure you head on down to the Loading Bar. Is the Dalston Loading Bar, I understand, this 4th of December, and say hello to people. Hello.
Hi.
Talking of saying hello to people, I'd just like to shout out a couple from the forums. I'd like to say a big thank you to Stealthy Joe and RP, who apparently wants to email the show a question. Probably the best way to ask us stuff is via BRB's Discord. There's a link to that on the front page of www.BigRedBarel.com. So come on,
or just tweet Big Red Barrel. That's perfectly acceptable, or any other things.
Yep, and
social media type
the
things.
Nonsense out of it with BRB UK.
Yep, that'll be good.
And talking Twitter, I'd also like to say thank you to Nelly, Rob Evans, and Hanifa. Well, I think that's it for the week, mate. I'm off.
Just I'll underline the extra shout out to Nelly, and also shout out to Rick this week as well for reasons I won't go into, but they could do the shout, so I will give them one. Jolly good. Well, I'm done. I'm out of here. I've had enough. Yes. I'm going. I've had enough. I've had enough for today. I need to just no, Tim. I can't do it anymore, Tim. It needs to be Friday already. We record on a Thursday. I don't know why it's affected me so much this week, but it has. So there we go. Anyway, that's your lot. I have been Dan. I might have been Tim. Yeah, you have. And and we'll see, hopefully, with a 3-man show. Whether or not that 3-man or woman involves Coleman, I don't know. I don't think it does next week. Yeah, I think he's out for one more week, but then he shall return. And then the band is indeed back together. So we'll one or the both of us will blather at you next week. So yes, look forward to that. Why don't you? There's an offer you can't. Well, you probably can refuse, but never mind. Yeah. Right. So thank you as always for downloading the show and for listening to us. And make sure you visit www.BigRedBarel.com or twitter.com/BigRedBarel or facebook.com/BigRedBarel or internet/.thing.net/BigRedBarel. All of those are perfectly fun things to do. There's a lot of slashing in Big Red Barrel going on there. Certainly is. Thankfully, no. I'm not sure I'm going with that. I'm going to a corner of the internet I really don't want to think about. I opened you up for a urine-based joke and you didn't run with it, Dan. I'm almost proud of you. I know, right? It's been a long day. You're growing up. It's been a long day. It's been a long day. Anyway, we're going. You're not, because you live in your own head. We're only just temporarily renting the space, and we're now going to get out of here. So thank you ever so much for listening, and until next time, dear listeners, toodle bye. I like the renting space in your head. That was good.
You and your ears are quite welcome
for the podcasting goodness that you just heard.
Why not roll on over
to BigRedBarel.com
for more podcasts,
news, reviews, and videos from the biggest, reddest site on the internet, BigRedBarel.com.